Great. Thank you for joining us today for Nutrition Capital Network's second conference call of 2013, Building Your Brand for Growth. My name is Mike Dovish, and I'm Executive Director of Nutrition Capital Network. Today's conference call is brought to you by Nutrition Capital Network and our communications and public relations partner, Christie Communications. Joining us from Christie Communications is the founder and CEO, Gillian Christie. You can email me questions, which I can ask during Q&A, or you can ask them directly at the conclusion of this presentation, and the moderator will give instructions on how to do so. Before we start the presentation, I wanted to say a few words about Nutrition Capital Network and our mission. We were founded in 2007 with the goal of facilitating the financing and partnering process of the next generation of successful brands and technologies in the nutrition, health and wellness, natural and organic, and green product industries. We do this through our investor meetings and virtual tools, such as this conference call. On slide 3, you will see a range of sectors that fall within Nutrition Capital Network's focus and what's of interest to our investor attendees. Past presenters that have closed significant transactions include Fuji Taste Good, a company acquired by General Mills in February 2012, in addition to Annie's, Immaculate Baking, Zico, and Gina's Gypsy Tea. Among all companies who have presented at NCN investor meetings, 53% have found financing or completed a transaction. On slide 4 is our 2013 event schedule. Our next in-person event will be at Expo East on September 25th in Baltimore, the day before the trade show floor dates of September 26th and through 28th. We will be holding 3 events at Expo East, which are the Next Natural Products Accelerator Entrepreneur Pitch Slam, a session on investor readiness that we are holding with Gillian Christie, and a session on financing that will include Julian Steinberg from Alliance Consumer Growth, Tyler Gage from Runa, and Rob Hurlbut from Attune Foods. The day will conclude with a reception for the Pitch Slam Awards, and information about these events will be in upcoming NCN news and on our website. We will be holding our fall investor meeting on October 28th through 29th in San Francisco, followed by our 5th investor meeting at SupplySide West on November 13th in Las Vegas, which showcases innovative ingredients and technologies serving the nutrition industry. Over the past 5 years, we have reviewed over 1,400 business plans, with the majority coming from organic and natural foods, followed by ingredients, supplements, and personal care, as you will see on slide 5. And we want to thank all of our sponsors listed on slide 6, as well as our Cornerstone members on slide 7 for their continued support and ongoing involvement with NCN. Our sponsors include, of course, Christie Communications, our public relations and communications partner, investment banking partner, Partnership Capital Growth Advisors, our law firm partner, Venable, Jeff Smith Consulting, our digital media partner, and our life sciences partner, Sprem. Slide 7 shows our distinguished Cornerstone investor members, many of whom represent the largest CPG and ingredient strategic companies that include Bayer, DSM, DuPont, Coca-Cola, Hershey's, Kellogg's, Pepsi, and Unilever. Our newest Cornerstone member for 2013 is Australia-based Sanitarium, a health and wellness company. In 2013, we kicked off our University Partners Initiative. Our first featured universities are Ohio State University and Massey University of New Zealand. We are pleased to partner with universities worldwide, cultivating an additional gateway for deal flow on behalf of our members. NCN University Partners helps to identify scientific and technological developments and commercial potential, creating connection with those willing to share in the risk and rewards of bringing new products, processes, designs, applications, materials, and services to market. We will be announcing more university partners to be included in the coming weeks. So today's presentation is provided by NCN's public relations and communications partner, Christie Communications. Christie Communications is a full-service branding, public relations, marketing, and advertising agency dedicated to helping ethical businesses, entrepreneurs, and organizations broaden their impact through effective communications services. They have developed and successfully implemented their unique organic marketing programs for more than 20 years, achieving maximum results with the minimal use of resources for clients of all sizes, ranging from startups to global brands worldwide. Additionally, Gillian Christie was recently awarded as one of the top 100 women taking the lead to save our planet, the prestigious Joe Nita Entrepreneurial Spirit Award for the agency's pioneering efforts in the field of clean business, and the Spirit of Small Business Award for woman-owned businesses. And with that, I hand the mic over to CEO and founder, Gillian Christie.
Thank you so much, Mike, and thank NCN for allowing us to participate. And I have to say, I so respect NCN for what they do for small businesses and growing businesses to find the right partner. And for all of our experience in the years that we've been doing this, NCN truly takes the lead on helping ethical businesses grow. So it's with great honor we get to participate. I also wanted to thank everyone who's actually listening or looking at their computers at this point. If you're not, then I will try and be as descriptive as possible, and especially because I got to see some of the names that had signed up to participate in this, and what a group of incredible businesses. And I just want to thank all of you for taking the plunge of running a company or participating in the business system, because it is business that ultimately is the solution for a better planet. And everyone that I saw that was participating has definitely established quite a beachhead for being a very ethical and sophisticated and needed business. So I only hope that what I'm able to share with you will help you all accomplish your goals better. If you do have the opportunity to be looking at a computer, I will just be going through the slides, and if not, I'll try and be as descriptive as possible. Having done years in talk radio, they told us we're as good as you can see it. So we start the whole presentation just with a great quote from Stephen King, where he said, "A product is something that can be made in a factory. A brand is something that's bought by a customer. A product can be copied by a competitor. A brand is unique. A product can be quickly outdated. A successful brand is timeless." We'll bypass the information about my company, as he's just described it better than I can. I thought because it was a significant point that we would be talking about the ecosystem of business, because it's truly, as we go forward a little bit, I'll show you how nature and the ecosystem itself actually has evolved to be one of the best business models there are. It's very significant that when you are communicating about your company, your services, and your products, that you make sure that the words are understood. Unlike many, unfortunately, I went to a school where I had to learn Latin, so it was a nice basis for me to understand the English language. So I thought it was significant to just start with the fact of describing what the word ecosystem actually means. Eco comes from the Greek word oikos. I'm not Greek, so I'm going to probably totally mess this up. It comes from a Greek word meaning house, and system is from a Greek word meaning to bring together. So an ecosystem, the system of ecological relationships upon which life of any particular living organism is based. An ecosystem includes such factors as food, food supply, weather, and natural enemies. So what does this have to do with business and your company? Well, your company is a living entity, and it has an ecosystem itself. And as we go through this presentation, we'll show how important it is to make sure every element of your ecosystem is involved in your communication. If you don't have a computer, the next slide is an actual, just one that I thought was an interesting one that would show the ecosystem of the planet Earth and how each element of life itself affects other parts of life. So we all know, because we've been hearing it multiple times in the media, you know, the global warming and all these issues that may or may not be substantiated by science. The truth of the matter is everything we do does affect some other part of life. The next picture is a beautiful picture, if you're not looking at your screen, of a beautiful, beautiful rainforest. And what's so interesting from a marketing viewpoint is that nature itself is actually one of the best business systems I know. Their retail space, as you all may be in consumer packaged goods, are gardens, forests, or fields. Their customers, they have customers. These life forces actually have customers. Their customers are the birds and the bees and the insects. Their supply chain is water, soil, and air. But their advertising and how do they get their customers to come to them, each of these individual plants in this ecosystem, are actually the beautiful flowers they create in order to be pollinated. They can't continue in business as a plant if they're not pollinated. So what is their marketing? Their marketing is very, very well surveyed. They actually, however they do it, the plants actually create a concept of how do I make my flower, my smell, my taste, my sweetness, whatever the key elements of their products are, entice their public, the birds and the bees, to come and actually interact with them. So we felt that it was a good parallel to actually look at an ecosystem that does work. And you might notice that in this ecosystem, there is no discrimination about color, size, or shape. They all actually work together. So it is sort of an absolutely beautiful retail environment. The next slide is this incredibly beautiful slide of these dolphins playing in the ocean. Science has just proved that the dolphins know how to advertise. It always makes me laugh that science has to prove this, or the dolphins have been doing it for thousands of years. They actually send out electronic impulses to entice their customers. Who are their customers? Their future mates. So they understand if they send a certain frequency or a certain sound, it will create the desired effect. So what do our ecosystems look like? The next slide is a picture of a lot of people sitting in a work environment. All of these elements in this work environment that we call humans have their own personalities. They're influenced by their family, their friends, their education, and more than ever, they're influenced by the media. The next slide is an overview of I'm not sure which Whole Foods this is, but it's just a view that shows that this too is an ecosystem. We live in this ecosystem. There's opportunity as you walk through an ecosystem like this to be influenced by certain branding and marketing. And what we want to go through in this presentation is to show you why you reach for one thing and not another. Moving on is a slide of beautiful children all jumping for joy. Well, this is another ecosystem. Each of these younger demographic are also influenced. Their influences are a little different. They're either created by grown-ups thinking they know what the children want, but these children all know that they want something at their purchasing level that is fun, tasty, and playful. I only wish we all maintained that as we got older and older, but the next slide will show you that somehow as our bodies get bigger, we end up in ecosystems that may not be quite as fun and enthusiastic, where we're finding ourselves being influenced by stress, congestion, time, emotion, and all those elements have to be taken into consideration when you're actually branding your product. So moving to slide 20, you have a picture of what is the noise in our ecosystem. How do we get above all that noise? That's actually a picture of Times Square, and all you have to do is sort of look around and the fact of how many different types of communication and marketing are there trying to influence these people, and how do you get them to both either participate in a brand or communicate about it to their friends. Another sound is the ecosystems that we are influenced in when we're constantly in our cars. So how do then you reach out to these people and make them want to participate in your brand? And then there's just the joyful noise of our own ecosystem, where we ourselves, in slide 22, are basically just playful, just grown-up kids that are all trying to still have fun and live life the way we want to. So how do you reach your ecosystem? Slide 23. It's just meant as a bit of humor, but you have to just look at this fact. If you haven't driven in a European roundabout, how do you communicate to get people to go where you want to go? So it says you'll have to go around again. Look, I said I was sorry. Take the second exit. Oops, no, I meant the first. Roundabouts, even though the British think it's the best solution for all traffic, hasn't quite caught on over in the U.S. How else can you reach your population? Can you actually, Can you actually wear the brand yourself? I would say probably the one who's doing this best of all in this quite unique way of communicating your brand. You know, that's true dedication when you're willing to shave your head and include the brand in your new hairstyle. However, it's just a point of how do you reach all these different demographics. Slide 25, Subway thought they had the best solution. Big billboard, it just says sex. Now that we have your attention, eat at Subway. So there is possibilities to grab people's attention in sophisticated as well as unsophisticated ways. Slide 26 shows a unique way of how can you communicate to your population where they are. It's basically either on a train or some sort of transport system where the handrail is actually carrying the product itself. Is that effective? It's clever, but does it actually get a person to want to participate in the brand and purchase it? Next, slide 27, we thought was, if nothing else, it was a fun way to communicate. Someone put outside their store, we sell sex. No, we don't. We sell drugs. No. We stock all these things. I actually mean we just sell wine, lots of wine. So with the whole intention there is how do you grab someone's attention and keep them coming back for more of your services. So when you look at your own ecosystem, it's important to understand your ecosystem is more than just your customers. Your ecosystem, the birds and the bees, are the customers, investors, your partners, employees, distributors, brokers, and retailers if you're in consumer packaged goods, and your community partners. How do you gauge them in your success? All this is part of how you develop a brand that's going to work. What has worked for you in the past? More importantly, what hasn't worked and what lessons have you learned? And ideas to engage in more effectively. So each of these points can be discussed independently for your company alone or from a broader sense, ones you've seen that you feel have done this effectively. So to start, as I love defining terms, a brand is a set of perceptions and images that represent a company, a product, or a service. While many people refer to a brand as a logo, tagline, or audio jingle, a brand is actually much larger. A brand is the essence of promise of what will be delivered or experienced. From how you answer your phones to your point of sales collateral to your sales presentations to your packaging. It's a term that sort of came into the lexicon about 15 or 20 years ago, having a brand. Before it was just a corporate identity. But somehow we've grabbed the cowboy image and have set out to make sure people know who we are within this much more complex game. So you're building your brand for growth. I don't know many people who aren't trying to build for growth. So we have to look at this slide 30 actually explains all the different elements that you want to make sure have consistent messaging through your mainstream and social media, through your partnerships and community building, through mobilizing influencers and social movements. Also, it comes down into this point that people basically know who you are and why do they want to interact with you or your products. So build your brand, know your species. I'm staying in theme here with my ecosystem. A species is a gender or a type of plant life. So you have to understand who you are. It's really, really important for you to define your dream, your value, and your purposes. It doesn't really matter whether you're small or large. It is the dream that drives the progress. It tells you what direction you're going in, and it can be any size you want. You integrate these consistently into the growth strategies, distribution, branding, and marketing. So this slide that you're seeing, if you're looking at number 31, is a campaign we did for Coleman's Mustard. Now, Coleman's Mustard is 200 years old. How do you stay relevant 200 years past the point of the original conception? Well, the way we designed this, the colors of those are the actual colors of the mustard seed that they make their unique formulas with. We went and did market research. We made sure there was interaction, and we have continued to develop different projects to make sure people understand that this little hot mustard that the Queen gave her blessing to 200 years ago is still relevant. What did we just do last week when they won the French Tour de France? Yellow jersey. We played off the yellow jersey and allowed the campaign just to move forward and stay consistent. Of course, everything English is big right now, so we've also played off of the baby and everything else that's going on in England. Slide 32 says, build your brand, understand your food web, know and respect your audiences. This is something we hold very near and dear at Christie Communications, is that those people that you're interacting with need to be respected. Why do we say get to know your audience, market research, market research, market research? I cannot say that enough. Grassroots outreach, talk with your customers, your retailers, and your brokers. These are the people that you're trying to have interaction with, and so that you're listening to what they need from your company and deliver that. We have done so many different market research projects only to find out, well, what you thought was important about your brand was not significant at all to the buyer at any level of the supply chain. What they really liked was that the product was made in Tibet and that it had this interaction and it had a history behind the brand. So it's very, very important to make sure that when you do go out and get your market research done, all I can say is please avoid focus groups. They are outdated and they're not as accurate as just one-on-one contact. Respect these people. They are part of your community. Find out what they need and want to most effectively build the brand awareness. So what does that effective mean? It means that the bridge between you and the consumer, whether it's a service, a product, an idea, is that distance between you and them is shortened because you've actually listened to them. You're not just broadcasting some buzz new fancy word that's just come out and that's the soup du jour. You're actually listening to what they want and you're sharing it with them. Use the results and develop an effective strategy. Absolutely do not go forward with what's called an unevaluated bright idea without understanding who you are, what you're trying to accomplish, and what people want from you. It saves you a lot of money and it gets you much better results. Slide 34, building your brand. Avoid erosion. Be consistent. What is erosion when you're actually marketing? It's all that money you've wasted that didn't actually get the result you want. Your brand is more than your logo. It's every interaction with your company, from the person who answers the phone to packaging, website to sales. Value your customers and integrate them into the messaging. Make it personal. So we give an example here of a company called Red Remedies. They spelled their name R-E-D-D. People didn't understand it was an old English word meaning to put your life in order. So what we did was just bypass the potential confusion and made the packages red with major call-outs, and also because the man who's the founder of the company's faith was very important to him, we made sure that was embedded in the white cross on the box, which to the consumer says, this is healthy, it's good for me, and we integrated it at every touch point of his business. The fact that people trusted them, and something having to do with supplementation is really, you need to build that line of trust. We built a fun campaign of getting people to wear T-shirts that said, trust me. And it moved very, very fast forward. In fact, when we interacted with the National Talk Show Host Convention and had all the radio hosts wearing Trust Me T-shirts, it definitely caused a fervor and a lot of media conversation. Whoops. The next slide says, which is 34, building your brand. Create biological magnification of your values. Enable your values to become more concentrated in each successive stage of your food web. Integrate your values and purpose into your communications, brandings, and collateral. Communicate out of authenticity and do not dilute your message. Someday I will scientifically prove that authenticity has some magnetic field that causes people to want something. Newman's Own is a great brand example. People really knew that this was a brand that actually gave back, and that was the theme of their business, so no matter what Newman's Own made, they would buy it. What we see here in this poster was the fact that when we launched a product, Prestige Soda, those really are the children in Sri Lanka that survived the tsunami, and we had the celebrities signing these cans at a Sundance Film Festival saying we can make a difference, and this poster actually showed up in every Whole Foods in the United States and was a very, very good position for the company to take. It showed that they gave back, Sri Lanka was their source of product, and that the theme of what they were doing was truly authentic. We were actually there. Those are actually our children, and we were actually helping in the orphanages. So authenticity is highly, highly important. Building your brand and avoid mental pollution. Market organically. What is mental pollution? It's just too much noise, too many messages. If you research, you will have a respectful message that actually reaches your population and doesn't waste their attention. So don't waste resources. This includes people's attention. How many times? Probably all of you are doing 3 other things as I'm speaking, which is fine, but your attention is valuable, and we want to make sure that when you market to those people, your customers, you respect them and you're respecting their time. Define your message, key media, and outreach channels precisely. Marketing is a philosophy. Maintain integrity, messaging, substantiation, relevance, and content. Why do I say it's a philosophy? It's not just because it was my education, but philosophy is really taking thought into the future universe and changing a direction of society. So when you all are marketing your product, it's not just the sales you're making, it's the impact those products and services are going to do in the future. And that's why this whole activity is philosophical. Build your brand, slide 36. Protect your brand's habitat. Do not inundate. Educate target audiences through research and substantiated information. Don't barrage with overwhelming data and scare tactics. And fear does not create long-term loyalty. Why do I have this little salamander on there from Geico? It's because the fact that they spend $1.3 billion a year for you to be entertained, but their conversion rate is much, much lower because they really just think if they keep communicating in every single channel we're ever participating in, you'll eventually break down and buy their insurance. Slide 37. Building your brand, stimulate photosynthesis of your marketing, tailor your message. So it's very, very important to customize your message based on specific personal, logical, and emotional profiles of your target audience, and keep communications relevant to each of those audiences. So in the case of the picture in the center, this is a Hispanic nutritionist that was very, very active in a probiotic campaign that we ran in order to educate the Hispanic population. Obviously, a little bit of celebrity interaction, whether the celebrity is an Olympian or a TV star, has impact. It only has impact to the degree that it's relevant to the brand. Slide 38 is building your brand, monitor indicators, and listen. We often forget to do that, but all of you are listening right now, so I'm giving you 10 points for that. Get feedback. Ask questions. Don't assume. Be adaptable, and be humble. I know running a business, humility is not often a key driver that makes one think that you're going to continue to grow, but there is a point of just being flexible and make sure you're watching trends, and as those trends change, you're also being flexible to relate to those and understand the influences. A great example is social media. For any of you who are a little older than 29, you'll know that social media 10 years ago was not a brand influencer, and this change in our communication channels has totally accelerated different ways to reach. So one must be flexible, note that as a new communication channel, and be able to interact with it and ensure that it's part of your program. Slide 39 is building your brand. Build your ecosystem and community. Know them. Understand each part of your ecosystem. Stay in touch. That's a very relevant point, too. People forget that your brokers and distributors are actually part of your ecosystem. So how do you interact with them? How do you keep them motivated? Sales commissions? Absolutely. Anything like that can help, but sometimes just a nice pat on the back or a little bit of media play can actually make all the team members want to participate more. Always be interested in the people that are part of your ecosystem. Cooperate with aligned companies and organizations, and build opportunities for interaction through events, social media, strong public relations efforts. What we know, having been doing media for as many years as we have, the media receipt point actually wants to have a story that's bigger than just your product. So maybe there's a company you align with. You may be a sweetener company and you want to align with a tea company and you want to put out a story that's relevant to how to make a good cup of tea, or you're a bottled water company and you want to interact with a probiotic powder company. The media from the other side want to see that community interaction. As we speak right now, Israel and Palestine are in one of these meetings that we only hope the interaction creates a positive forward. So it just proves that at all levels, people are communicating and trying to create a better community. Slide 40, build your brand, create acclamation, be adaptable, and pivot. Know that change is inevitable. Embrace challenges and transform them into success. Find mentors and advisors to help you navigate, which NCN is great at providing, by the way. And forever remember that this is life, and life is meant to be enjoyed. The reason we use the slide of soy delicious to so delicious, because that's a project we did many, many years ago. When soy delicious came to the marketplace for years and years and years, it was very popular in the natural industry, and it goes into mass market, and mass market didn't accept it at the same level it was at. In the natural industries, we did our homework. We did a lot of research. We found out mainstream consumers thought that soy tasted bad and wasn't good for you. And also the packaging didn't have a relevant call-out, like what was it that Soy Delicious was offering. So we had to make sure we didn't lose the existing population, and we had to bring in new population, so we cleverly just dropped the Y. And it became so delicious, and dairy-free was the call-out. It's because we listened. We listened to the population, and we made sure that what we were trying to do was actually relevant to the consumers that were buying it. The great news is So Delicious was able to diversify their sourcing from soy to coconut to almond, and the rest is just an absolutely aesthetic success story. Slide 41, building your brand. Believe me, it takes perseverance. It doesn't happen overnight. We often look up to the big guys and the ones who've been acquired and all the ones that successfully make it through the NCN process to their next level of growth. And believe me, they have put a lot of time in to make it work. The CEO is just going to be not just a pretty name on the front of a business card. It's the fact that they're probably working an 80-hour week, and they're working really, really hard to make sure all these points align. It takes perseverance. Success takes persistence, hard work, and maintaining your dreams and values. Build trust and confidence. Surpass expectations. And I always say maintain your sense of humor. This is life. Life in the building of businesses, we all know, we're all business people. There's ups and downs. All of a sudden a staff member leaves you at a critical time, or a shipment doesn't arrive, or, God forbid anyone gets an FDA letter. These are just part of life, and you just have to make sure that your community is strong and you stay in communication, and you just realize that life is meant to be a game, and we all should be having fun at it in the end. Building your brand for growth. Remember, a goal for a brand is that it transcends the direct product experience and speaks directly to the consumer's identity and self-awareness in a powerful, consistent manner, creating lasting loyalty and increased sales. Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Books, Virgin whatever, I've gotten to meet him, and he's just an innovative dreamer who had this great idea of going out and pushing the envelope a little bit to multiple levels of success. Slide 43 is building your brand for growth. Identify common factors of successful and growing brands and their ecosystems of engagement. It's always good to look at the ones that have been out there that have become household words and have become symbolic of a certain level of delivery and quality of products. Each one of these has a story. Coca-Cola by trend is the best recognized brand in the world, which is what it is, and it's exciting in that sense that you can go to almost any country and see it. Well, they've been in business for a long, long time, and believe me, they've persevered. So building your brand for growth. This is a drill for you to do. Obviously, this is not an interactive call quite at this point, but the whole point is to name 3 brands that demonstrate a successful ecosystems approach to branding. This is good for you to sort of step out of your own company and look around and decide, well, what brands do you feel actually have a successful ecosystem? Then it's always good to see, did you actually purchase these brands? If you did or you didn't, that's a good question to ask. Well, I really like Columbia outdoor wear, but I don't buy it because I like the Patagonia label more. It doesn't matter what the answers are. It's just interesting to do it with yourself, to think through brands that you actually respect. Have they grown? And if they have, why? And if they haven't, why not? We can take this up later. So when you look at slide 45, building your brand based on meaning and values, we work with you to create powerful and effective branding that resonates with your customers, to create understanding and demand for your products while aligning with your core philosophies, values, and goals. We already touched on this brand before when you got to see what it looks like now, but I thought it was relevant to see what it looked like before. And basically, the before was selling. It wasn't not selling. It just wasn't selling enough, and the packaging was kind of scary. So all we did was just bring it into the current look and feel, whether it's a type of lettering. We actually had to maintain the little icons on the front just because there was still familiarity with some of the population. And then we had to be able to go out and communicate about this so that people understood what the product actually did. And those who are in supplementation knows it's what you can't say as much as what you can say. It's just challenges of the business world. So we've already been through slide 46, so it just shows you how every touch point maintained the consistency of the feel for the company, their purposes, and what it was they were trying to communicate through their herbal supplements. 47 was an example of an ingredient. We love ingredients because it's the basis of all business, and somehow whether that ingredient's a food or a supplement or a single ingredient, etc., we were asked by AIDP to brand their new magnesium threonate. So we came up with a name for it, we came up with a logo for it, and now I'm getting to see it across marketing all over the place and all the way down to their 30 by 30 foot trade show booth. So there was this constant reiteration of a color, a theme, a message, and understanding of the product, so that whether you were buying it as an ingredient into one of your own products or whether it was being sold directly as a consumer packaged goods, it was at least there was a consistency behind the product itself. Slide 48, Better Naturally. This is an organic fertilizer, and we had to go out and understand how were we going to be different in a very crowded field up against major companies that owned a lot of the chemical fertilizers. So Rhizogen's concept, we branded it, we named it Better Naturally. There's many limitations in plant health as there are in human health. And then we actually changed the whole different philosophy through market research from what does the garden do for me is what can you do for your garden. So we created these concepts. No one was actually doing bags like this and putting images like that so people could understand what their interaction was. It was just an example of how do you do easy call-outs, how do people understand what its application is, and how do they fit into their garden. So the gloves became very much part of the campaign. Easy, small little promotional concept, but now people were realizing that I could interact with my garden through this product. So I always like to end with just some fun quotes. As Leonardo da Vinci, a very innovative businessman, said, "It had long since come to my attention that people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them. They went out and happened to things." Thomas Friedman said, "Do you know what's my favorite renewable fuel is? An ecosystem for innovation." And then there's a deep interconnectedness of all life on Earth, from the tiniest organisms to the largest ecosystems, and absolutely between each person. It's very important to know that we are all part of a much bigger ecosystem, and slide 50 really just outlines to live your dream. You know, life is an incredibly dynamic game, and our job is just to help people like you go out and accomplish the dreams you've set out, because when you do, you're going to create an amazing effect on society. So thank you for your time. If there's anything I can do personally to help any of you, I would be honored at any point in the future to contribute to what you're trying to do.
Great, thank you. That was a great presentation, Gillian. Can we have the moderator just give some instructions on how people can ask a question directly?
Certainly. At this time and throughout the call, if you have a question or comment, simply hit star and 1 on your touchtone phone. That's star and the number 1 to get into the question queue. We'll get to everybody in the order that they are received. For just a few moments, we'll see who will join the queue.
Okay, great. While that's queuing up, we received a few questions, so I'm going to ask you the first one. Here we go. So how valuable are celebrities in building a brand? And there are a couple of other sub-questions. One is an example about Jamie Lee Curtis and Danone. What do you think about picking? Do you want me to, Gillian, just ask you one question at a time, a sub-question?
It's up to you. I can only say I have a certain level of memory retention. So I'll do my best.
Yeah, don't we all? So why don't I start with this? So there's a couple questions underneath this, and I actually think they're all a little bit different. So first of all is Jamie Lee Curtis and Danone yogurt. Why do you think they picked her, and what value do you think she brought to the brand? And does she still bring it?
Well, that's a great question, and I think the first question in the whole series of those is what is the impact of celebrities on a brand? I'll just step back one step further. When we're training people on how to talk to the media looks for 5 things. It's conflict, controversy, big name, sex, and violence. Those are the gatekeepers to any media. Hence, Michael Jackson is still in the news. I hate to say that, but he has all 5 of those points. So when you do integrate a celebrity into a campaign, whether it's a Hollywood-type celebrity or a Olympian-type sports celebrity, etc., one has to be very cautious about your choice. Jamie Lee Curtis was an interesting choice for a yogurt company. She reached a boomer demographic. Obviously, it's worked, and in that circumstance, it was an unusual choice. But what we found when we were actually promoting a secondary probiotic product line, people thought that because of Jamie Lee Curtis, the probiotics were only for boomers. So trying to sell a probiotic to a younger demographic, in that circumstance, it counteracted an age differentiation point. So choice is very, very important. I think she's great. I think she's cheerful. I think it's an interesting ad campaign, and I'm sure it'll probably continue. The downside of celebrity choices is one can ask a very well-known beverage company if Lance Armstrong was really the best choice that they could have had. Absolutely, in the growth of the business, it went through quite a series of years of growth until Lance Armstrong was found to have not been totally honest in activities he did in order to win the races he did. So what did that cost them in their choice? I often find, I love interacting. To me, celebrities in the Hollywood venue, and we do several interactions a couple times a year. We do a green room so the celebrities know they're walking into a space of ethical products. I see celebrities as people who read scripts really well and that they have the ability to be outbound and known for that. So whether Jennifer Aniston is holding Smart Water, which they paid a lot of money for her to do, is it driving sales and is it reaching a broad demographic? I just think selection is important and that the person somehow aligns with the brand. There will always be the human frailty factor that one has to be conscious of when you are making those choices.
Great. And then a couple other little questions as part of this. Basically, this person is asking, what do you think celebrities have do you think there's an effect on Shark Tank with celebrities being involved on Shark Tank? And then the second one after that is, can you comment on Dr. Oz?
Sure. Wow, Shark Tank. I don't have much respect for Shark Tank, so if I was to say anything, go to NCN and not Shark Tank. You'll at least meet real investors.
That's a nice plug.
I'm serious. Shark Tank is so nasty and so mean, and why I think it's illogical is because investors absolutely are important to the process, but the entrepreneur truly is the one who's creating the thought and should be respected. That's my only differentiation on those, if they showed it just a little bit more respect. Does a celebrity cause some buzz and their return? I really haven't actually interacted with a Shark Tank respondent to see if it really did build their business. A couple of my clients have been through the process. There's excitement for it, but I wouldn't say it's the best place to find your long-term investment relationships. Dr. Oz, let me explain why Dr. Oz is such a hero. He's such a hero because he's an Oprah product, and Oprah has the magic touch. I watched Oprah grow from the weather girl in Baltimore when I was growing up as a kid to who she is today, and she has an amazing ability to touch her audiences. So when she decided to retire, and she lives here in Santa Barbara, so I've gotten to hear her story through her lawyer several times. When she decided to retire, she really didn't leave the stage. She left the stage, but she didn't leave her care for her audience. So she created Dr. Phil. She had interaction with Rachel Ray, and along comes Dr. Oz. So Dr. Oz has really allowed the population to still have that caring feeling and interest in them and their needs. Absolutely, he's a brand builder. So how you reach him is, he's going to be very selective, as Oprah had to learn through her career, that you really have to do some homework before you communicate. I've had Oprah hold products on camera, and she's an amazing, gracious person. I would say Dr. Oz is equally as impactful and can, as NCN can prove, I'm sure through some of the statistics they can talk about in the industry, that he can move a product or not. As Oprah did, as Ellen does, as any of these very direct on-camera or on-air personalities. If you're as old as I am, you'll remember that Rush Limbaugh, way, way long ago, was the first one to drink Snapple tea. Hence, Snapple became a concept, and the rest is history, in its growth phase. So absolutely, these people are influencers. Women's World as a print magazine is a major influencer. So there are media channels, and there are ways to reach them, and it's really done with respect or money.
And we see that a lot. We see that a lot in presentations and marketing materials that, their product or the ingredient that they use was featured on Dr. Oz. But we're also seeing in some cases, though, you get a big spike in sales and then a drop off, and then it kind of settles back in. So sometimes a long-term effect from Dr. Oz, I don't know if it always plays out with every company that benefits from that.
Well, that could be true because truly, as I talked about the ecosystem, you have all these project partners that want to go out and actually be educated, understand, and move in your product. A long time ago, I guess I'm really dating myself now, when Barefoot came out and said coral calcium would cure cancer, and sales went out the roof, and everybody through the supply chain was happy until the FDA put him in jail, then the sales crashed and people had to go back. So keeping your authenticity, remember substantiation, just go back through some of those slides, just make sure your brand is based on honesty and integrity, and it will continue to grow.
Great. We have a few more questions that were emailed, but do we have any questions on the line?
Yes, we do have one from Suzanne Stillman. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. Thank you both. I think this has been just wonderful. I'm going to be launching a product soon, and I have international patents. So therefore, can you just address a little bit about branding in the United States, and will that translate to China, India, Mexico, Canada, everywhere else that I have intellectual properties?
That's a really,
in other
really
words,
good.
How do you create an international brand, no matter where you start, that will be accepted? If I may, one very funny thing was Sony came out with a game called Cardinal Sin, S-Y-N, not knowing that in the Philippines there was a cardinal sin. So I contacted them and they quickly withdraw it. But, clearing for international, trying to make an impact. Mine's a children's product to start, so therefore mothers and doctors are very important to me.
That's a wonderful question. Absolutely. Today it is a global world. So you would be a brand here and you're wanting to impact Japan, et cetera. It's research. It's research. I can't say it enough. We've had clients who came to us from a non-U.S. Base into the U.S. market, and they're kind of going, well, I want to call it X, Y, and Z. As an example, one of our clients from Brazil does bee propolis. Well, bee propolis in Brazil, everybody knows when we did our homework in America, 94% of the population had no idea what it was. So all I can say is, number one, always do name count. Make sure that when you come up with a name or a description of your product, you translate it into every potential language so that doesn't happen again. We had a company, it wasn't ours, who was New Era Publications, which his acronym was NEP, which in Germany meant a rip-off artist. So there's just things you have to be cautious of, and it's just homework, so that when you do go out, now how do you reach those populations? Well, each of those countries will have their own characteristics. In the U.S., I often describe us as Americans, and please nobody be offended by this, but there's a lot of homework, is that we're really greedy fourth-grade cowboys. What's in it for us? We're not that smart. If Dr. Oz says take it, we take it, and we aren't loyal to brands. We sort of have that cowboy attitude, and it's fine. It's not right or wrong. When you go to England, it's much more demure. When the European population, Greek population, it really is. Make sure that your integrity and your core values are consistent, and then just make sure they're translated. Remember those slides of just listening to the people in those countries, and you just change the message, not the brand for those countries. Coca-Cola doesn't change its logo by country. Sometimes it does, but, it's still just going to be such an iconic symbol. So how you design it and how it looks and feels will actually gain that kind of international awareness.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any other questions in the queue?
That's the last one in the queue at this time.
Okay, we have a couple on email that I think we can get to. Can you talk a little bit more about replacing the focus group? How many one-on-ones is enough? And, when do you get to the result? How many of those do you need to go through do you really feel like you've accomplished your goal?
Those are great questions. I'm not going to, if someone owns a company that does focus groups, I'm not going to shoot them down, but just my reality is that what happens in a focus group and why I made that comment is often they're paid. It seems to be the same 12 people in Seattle, Washington, so I don't feel they have the same understanding as the people in Miami or Dallas or Boston or, you know, if you're doing it in the U.S. market or even in an international market. And often in a group, we all respond a little differently than if we were contacted one-on-one. So when we do our market research, which is called conversion market research, we actually call them on the phone because we want their emotional response. We all may think we're working logically in this world, but it's not based in any science. Stanford University actually did a study and found out that 85% of all sales are based on an emotional response. So then you want to go out and define your population and the zones that you want to get response from. Our baseline is really to have made multiple contacts, but to probably process at least 50 all the way through into being able to tabulate the results. We find that gives us, from at least our experience, enough trend information. Because you're looking for trends. You're looking for those mental factors that are going to actually influence this audience. Who do they turn to for information? What do they consider your competition to be, and what are the assets and liabilities of that competition? It's just so significant to go out and really understand who these people are, and then to thank them in the end. We don't pay respondents for participating in anything. They just often want to participate. We just did a B2B one, having to do with organic sourcing of things. And it was just really interesting to find out what people want, and it's never what you think. I mean, it's just an amazing thing is to allow them to communicate. And if their communication comes out negative, we had to do one once. So if you ever visit my office, I have a push mower in my office. This is a symbol of a very successful market research campaign that we had to go out and try and find out how to convert people from power mowers to push mowers. You might have to go, if this is not significant to you, but it may be. What we found is that nobody, zero, would convert because they like the sound and the power of their mowers. They didn't care that a push mower was more green, it had no gasoline, it didn't scare the birds, nobody got hurt, there was no allergens and it self-fertilizes, you know, so it was completely and logically the right purchase. They just remembered it was hard to push. That was their main aversion. So all we did was take 100% negative response. All they could remember was hard to push because of their grandmothers or something. And we out and did everything from lawnmower races at Lohas to we did amazing things and eventually got a lot of media for it. And these company sales went out the roof. People were buying the product, and the fact that 6 more companies came out with the same design of mower. So we just took a negative, made it a positive, and were able to play forward. But it was because we talked to the people to find out whatever their responses were and then to work with them and not be scared by the responses.
Very interesting. Last question. Let's see. Well, we'll see if there's any on the line, but on email we got another question. Selling a complex health proposition without inundating it. How do you suggest someone tries to do that? You know, if you have so much messaging going on, how do you make sure that you're not, you know, overwhelming the consumer?
Well, first, I'm not quite sure what a complex health message would be, but maybe you have a product that handles arthritis. I don't know what the proposition is on the product or what it actually deals with, but you can do it very discreetly in a sense where you can actually find people, like in a case, if it was an arthritis product, just as an example, you may take the concept out, from a B2B side and look at disruptive channels of places to put your product. We had to do this for, a Tibetan product that actually helped circulation. We actually got it placed in golf courses because it made people's ability to walk longer. We had to put in pet stores so people who were walking their dog. It's just relating to how a person will feel when they take some product that's addressing some physical issue. You look for those opportunities, and so maybe it may not just be in media, it may be in different types of things you substantiate. It may be that, okay, so you have a product that helps handle migraines. Well, gosh, why don't you support the Red Hat Society, which is 70,000 women all talking to each other who likely get migraines. And so you find different ways to communicate the benefit to different populations without overkilling it.
Interesting. Do we have any more questions in the queue?
Yes, we do. First up is William Jones. Go ahead.
Oh, great.
Hi, yes. First, I want to thank everybody for setting this up, and again, obviously, it's a great outlet, possibly for my company as well. So I have a field marketing company, and I've noticed in terms of just kind of trends and what's happening in terms of more traditional marketing, brands doing more in terms of trying to get their ROI quicker and doing in-store product demonstration and also doing more guerrilla-type marketing to reach the masses to get actual product in hand. How do you see, like, instead of spending money, I know I see some brands spending money in trying to get a celebrity impactfully, what's going to make the biggest difference? Reaching the masses or spending that money on, a celebrity, for example?
That's a great question. I would go back to the research question when I often ask them the research question, to whom do you listen for your opinions about X? If a celebrity doesn't come up, then you know that you could be wasting a whole lot of money because you're maybe getting a short-term buzz but not a long-term commitment to the brand. Getting out and demoing products or being involved in events, absolutely. It's one of those greatest places to do surveys as well as product interaction. And you can lose a whole lot of money just putting products in gift bags. You really want to actually be there demoing the product and being able to talk to the people about it. The stores like it. The brokers like it. The people like it. When you're actually interacting and educating, you can take those opportunities to train the in-store staff if you're doing both an on-site education with consumers as well as the staff. I think that idea that you said is really one of the best, is to make sure that you do have those either street teams out there and that you're interacting with the brand. They are interacting with the brand. It's a touch point. It's respect. It's actually care as well.
Thank you very much.
No, it's a great idea.
Great, thank you. And any more questions in the queue?
We do. From Anita Derby, go ahead. Anita, your line's open.
Oh, I'm sorry. Great conversation, lots of interesting and very good points. You mentioned, Christie, that you're involved in investor groups as well. What do investor groups look for today in a company? I've, in particular, got a natural health product supplement company, and I'm working towards addressing some of those issues, and I'd kind of like to get your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So we participate in NCN, and we're very honored to be able to do this. We also do an investor summit here in Santa Barbara in September. We jokingly call it our dolphin tank just because we believe that the entrepreneur should be respected. What we have seen, and I'm going to turn it back to Mike too, because they obviously read a lot of business plans. Every time we've been through these processes, I would say that the key thing that investors look for is, does the founder have enthusiasm for what they're doing, as well as obviously you're already scientifically substantiated, your manufacturing lines are in order, you have a good management team, because if they're going to give you money, they want to make sure the money is going to be assigned to well-trained financial staff. But I would say really, and what I've observed is the fact that, do you have the persistence and the passion to keep pushing this forward and making sure, because they're investing in you, and they're investing, your company comes second, and Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've just seen this enough times where I've seen people literally walk up and give checks to people at some of our investor summits because a person was just, you couldn't not give them the money. They were so enthusiastic and excited about what they're doing because they did all their homework. That has to be an assumed. You've already got your concept, your business plan. And as far as I've seen, but Mike can correct me on this, business plans don't have to be huge with huge projections. They really just have to sort of touch on the key points: category size, opportunity, points of differentiation, employees and teams. And NCN has a really beautiful way of doing theirs, so I would highly respect the way that they've presented, like in 3 pages. And then I would just say it's your passion, and that point of authenticity is what's going to get people to just want to give you money. That's the excitement of it, because you're going to, A, solve a problem, but 2, you have the enthusiasm to pull this thing off.
Yeah, you touched on many of the points, and I'm more than happy to chat about what investors are looking for after the call. So if you want to send me an email or give me a call, I'm more than happy to talk more to that.
Wouldn't you suggest that passion, though, has a lot to do with it?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Passion's very important, but everything, it's like a three-legged stool, but it's more like a five-legged stool. There's other things that are also very important, but yes, passion is top two, if not, one of the most or the most important trait when someone's pitching a business. Definitely.
Yeah.
Good. Any other more questions in the queue?
That was the last one in the queue this time.
Great. Well, thank you so much again, Gillian, for
thank you
for the present for being on this call. I've gotten many emails already saying what a great presentation it's been. So we appreciate it.
Well, you all, thank you for what you're doing. If there's any way we can help, between NCN and Christie Com, we would love to make sure your brands all become billion-dollar companies.
Great. Thank you very much. And this presentation and audio will be up on our website in the next 1 to 2 weeks. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.